Hello everyone, you're watching Let's Talk About Prepping. I'm Tyler, your host, and in this video, we're going to take a walk in the woods and talk about trading silver in a grid down situation. Now, you don't always need to be watching my face, so we're just going to enjoy the scenery and have our little chat. Specifically, we're going to talk about proving that silver is real at home or in the field with some amateur tests. Now, the reason this is on my mind is because a few videos ago, I mentioned having sold some silver. I was far from home and I was attending a book tour that I bought the tickets to months in advance. Now, my budget was much tighter than I had expected, so aside from the regular emergency supplies that I bring along when I'm far from home, I brought some extra silver, and I found myself at a pawn shop on a Saturday seeing what price I could get for some of it, and it ended up being not too far below what I had originally purchased it for. But the interesting thing was that the clerk did not know how to use the machine that they used to verify precious metals. It was a precious metals verifier by Sigma Metalytics. I ended up seeing the learning curve occur right there in front of me and helped in calibrating the device. And we can't blame the clerk for this because he simply had never used it before. But as preppers, we should always be familiar with our equipment and not find ourselves in a situation where we both need to use it and need to learn how to use it. Anyways, once he was comfortable with my silver, I sold him a few 10th ounce rounds. And that's the part that stings the most because I haven't been able to replace those 10th ounce rounds, and I like them for their divisibility so I don't have to cut up a bigger piece if I don't want to trade the whole thing. Now, the digital device he used is pretty cool because it's very accurate and it can identify other metals. But most of us aren't going to spend $500 or $600 and put it in a Faraday cage to keep it safe. We need some basic tests to at least get a good idea that what we're trading is authentic. And so this got me researching, and I've got some to share with you. But I want to point out that coin collectors and precious metal gurus are constantly debating this topic, so this is just a brief look to give us a good idea of what we have. Now, one of the basic tests is the dimensions and properties test. This involves knowing the weight and dimensions of the items that you want to trade. Standardized items like the American Silver Eagle have very specific dimensions which are difficult to counterfeit properly with cheaper metals. So basic tools like a scale or calipers and a coin almanac can help you to prove authenticity. There are also tools like the fish balance tool, which has size and weight testing parameters for specific mint coins. However, there are many coins which are not standardized and are considered junk silver or bullion, and we need other tests besides specific dimension tests to prove the authenticity. One method is the magnet test. Silver is paramagnetic, which means that it's not ferromagnetic like iron or steel, but reacts to magnetism. Silver and copper and various other metals will react to a magnetic field very weakly, and so a neodymium or other rare earth magnet can be used to influence these coins in a very weak fashion, and this can prove that they're not made from something inert like stainless steel or something very magnetic like iron or steel. Now, there are other weakly magnetic metals, and alloys made from things like nickel can exhibit some of these properties, so this is only a partial proof, not a proof positive. Other tests are necessary, for instance, the acid test, which is not as destructive as it sounds. When nitric muriatic acid compound is placed onto silver, it produces a milky white color, whereas this chart will show you the colors produced by various other metals, including those regularly used to counterfeit silver. By denting or filing through potential plating on the outside of a fake coin, you can expose the metal underneath, and a different color appearance will tell you whether that metal is cheaper than silver or not. Now, there are various reasons why these tests might not work on an object. Maybe it's too small or too big, or we don't want to damage it, but that's not a very good reason in a post-collapse situation. However, there are other ways to verify a sample's content. The specific gravity test can be very simple and accurate when done properly. This involves a digital scale and placing the item on the scale, then noting the value that is given. Then, a cup of water is placed alone on the scale, and the scale is zeroed out. We dangle the item into the water with as small of a thread as we can and without touching the sides or bottom of the container. When the item is submerged in the water, we take the new measurement of the coin submerged and divide that into the original weight of the item. The resulting number should be within the acceptable range of specific gravity for the metal that we expect it to be. For silver, this is in the range of 10.4 to 10.6 as listed by some charts. Particularly with silver, which is quite alone on the specific gravity chart, this gives you a very good idea that this item is not counterfeit, because although specific gravity can be counterfeited, it is very difficult to do in conjunction with proper dimensions and appearance. And so, using a variety of these different tests, we can get a very good idea that what we're looking at is silver or not. Now, there are different tests for different types of metals, and I'm not going to talk about gold or copper here today. But it's important to remember that whether you want to trade somebody a skill or a tangible item, it might be important to be able to demonstrate that it is worth what you say it is worth. Now, when it comes to precious metals, there are other tests like acoustic tests and even apps that you can download on your phone to perform these kinds of tests. There are even sonic devices which use sound to check the content of a metal. And these might be great things to keep around, but as always, skills will trump equipment in emergency preparedness. And so it's always important to focus on having knowledge and applicable skills before relying on items to get us through in some of these situations. And I thought that this in particular is a skill that we might neglect until the day arises that somebody doubts whether our silver is real. And in that situation, being able to pull out a few different tests and maybe a couple printed sheets of information to show them that we know what we're talking about could help us avoid some very basic hurdles that we're pretty likely to face if we find ourselves in a bartering situation and there's any doubt about silver on the table. So I thought that it was worth the time and research right now to find some of these amateur tests that we can remember and perform anytime to prove the authenticity of silver. And I hope that you think it was worth it too. If you have any other methods that you'd like to share, please share them in the comments below because I'm very interested. Alright, so I hope those were some interesting thoughts for some of you. It's definitely something that I'm going to have to research more. It might be very important in a few different situations. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll stay tuned with less talk about prepping for future videos. Stay safe out there, everybody.